Welcome to today's video on percentages. In today's session, we'll be looking at percentages as a topic, certain concepts along with the previous year questions, and we'll make this topic very easy so that you should be comfortable in solving questions on percentages in the examination. Before we get into this video, I would like you to subscribe to our channel, like this video, and also share this video amongst your friends who are preparing for CAT. As well as you can see our mobile number in the description. In case you have any doubts, be it questions or be it any queries regarding your preparation, you can feel free to message us and we would be willing to help you in the journey of your CAT examination. So let's get started. So what's in today's video? In today's video, we are looking at the concepts of percentages. So I'll be bringing concepts along with the questions. So every question has a concept behind it. So I'll be explaining you the concept along with the questions. So stay tuned till the end of the video so that you understand all the concepts and the way to attack each and every question within the time frame. Right, so I've also brought in previous year questions which are based on last 5 years of questions on percentages. Along with that, in every question, we will also be looking at certain tips and tricks to answer the questions easily. Right, so why is this topic important? As we can see, every year we have been seeing at least one question coming up from this topic, and this topic forms the backbone of arithmetic. In fact, percentages is widely used in data interpretation as well. So I remember in one of the years there was a case like on ratios and percentages, and I was able to answer that in less than 5 to 7 minutes to ensure that we get at least 4 good questions in the examination. Right, so let's learn this topic effectively and let's also understand how do we solve the questions in a very easy manner so that we should be able to grab a lot of marks in the examination from this topic. Right, so let's look at the first question. The first question is talking about, in the final examination, Vishnu scored 52% and Asha scored 60%, 64%, right? Now we need to understand, if I talk about 52 percentage, the first understanding here is 52 percentage of a base value. Now whenever numbers are lovely like integers 52, 64, we always advise the base value to be assumed as 100x. So what happens there, this 100 and this 100 gets cancelled. So 52 percentage of 100x becomes 52x, 64 percentage of 100x becomes 64x, and so on and so on and so on. So wherever you have questions where you have to assume a base value, the first advisable point would be is assume the base value to be 100x. Right? So in this question, 52% of maximum marks becomes the base. So let me assume that the maximum marks in the examination be 100x. So what do we have? So we have from Asha's point of view. Now Asha scored 52x because 52% of 100x is 52x. Similarly, Vishnu scored 64%. So 64% of 100x becomes 64x. Right, so I'm told that the marks obtained by Vishnu is 23 less and that by Asha is 34 more than the marks obtained by Ramesh. So Asha's score is equal to the score by Ramesh minus 23 and Vishnu's score is the score by Ramesh plus 34. So when I see these two equations, let's try to subtract them. So this becomes minus, minus and a minus. R gets cancelled. So we get a minus 12x is equal to minus 57, or minus minus gets cancelled. So we have 12x is equal to 57. Now the marks obtained by Geeta, who scored 84 percentage. Now what is 84% of 100x? 84% of 100x will be 84x. That means we want the value of 84x. So if 12x is equal to 57, the question is asking you what is the value of 84x? The easier part is, if I multiply my 12 into 7 becomes 84. So my right hand side also gets multiplied by 7. So 7 50s is 350 and 7 7s is 49. So 350 plus 49 will give me 399, which is option A, and that becomes the score by Geeta, who has scored 84% of the marks. So first understanding point here is, whenever we have to assume a base value, always assume the base value to be 100x, and then you see that the questions become very easy for you to solve, and then we will be able to get our answer easily. Right? Let's look at the next question. Now Arun's present age is 40% of Barun's age. We should know that 40% is nothing but 2 by 5. So all the students need to also understand or to by heart the fraction and percentage conversions. So what am I given? I'm given that Arun is equal to 2 by 5 of Barun. So what do I get from here? From here I get the ratio. So I can write A by B is equal to 2 is to 5. Or I can conclude that if the value of A is equal to 2x, then the value of B is equal to 5x. Now in another few years, let us say after k years, Arun's age becomes 2x plus k and Barun's age becomes 5x plus k. So after k years, Arun's age will be half of Barun's age. Let's cross multiply. So we get 4x plus 2k is equal to 5x plus k, or when I transpose the values, the value of k is equal to x. That means after k years, Arun's age becomes 2x plus x, that is equal to 3x, and Barun's age becomes 5x plus x, that is equal to 6x, because k is equal to x. Clear? Now what is the question asking? Find the percentage increase in Barun's age in this period. So Barun's age was 5x, that is the initial value, and Barun's final age becomes 6x, that becomes the final value. So what is the formula for percentage change? The formula for percentage change is nothing but final value minus initial value by initial value into 100. Right? So here the percentage change would be 6x minus 5x divided by 5x multiplied by 100, which will give you 1 by 5, and 1 by 5 here is going to be 20% would be the increase in Barun's age during this period. So not a difficult question at all. If we know how to calculate the ratios, things are going to be pretty easy and we will be able to get our answers easily altogether. Right? Now let's look at this question. The number of girls appearing for an admission test is twice the number of boys. Okay. If 30% of girls and 45% of boys get the admission, now we are calculating percentage, right? So of the girls, of the boys. So let me assume that the number of boys are equal to 100x. So I'm told that the number of girls are going to be twice that of boys. So therefore the number of girls will be 200x. Now 30% of girls get admission. So how many people got admission? 30% of 200. Now 30% of 200 is going to be 60x. So people who did not get the admission, let me write it as admission bar. So admission bar would be how many here? 140x. Similarly, out of boys, I know that 45% of boys got admission. So the 45x will be the people who got admission, and people who did not get the admission will be 55x. Now percentage of candidates who did not get admission. So people who did not get admission are going to be 55x plus 140x, which is going to be how much, guys? 195x. Right, as compared to total number of candidates. So I know that my total number of candidates are 100x plus 200x, which is going to be 300x multiplied by 100. So 0000 gets cancelled, x gets cancelled, 3 ones are 365s are. So therefore the final answer here is going to be 65%. Becomes a very easy question to convert and get the answer. Right, guys? So I repeat, whenever the base value is to be assumed, preferably assume the base value to be 100x. Job is going to be pretty easy and we should be able to get the answers in the least possible time. Right? Now let's look at this question here. Now 60% of the students in a class are girls and the rest are boys. So let me assume that total number of students are 100x. So what do I have here? So 60% are girls. So 60% of 100x becomes 60x are girls. That means 40x would be boys because total are 100. Now there are 30 more girls than boys, which means what am I having here? I have 60x minus 40x is equal to 30, or we get 20x is equal to 30. Clear? So we can reframe our table here. So reframing our table, so x will be 1.5, right? That means I have a total of 150 students. Clear? If 20x is equal to 30, then 40x will be equal to 60 and 60x will be equal to 90. So we have this figure now. So 150 total students, boys are 60 and girls are 90. Now 68% of the total students pass the examination. So how many pass the examination here? 68% of 150. So this is 53s are, this is 52s are, 2 ones are, 2 34s are. So 34 into 3 is 3 into 30 is 90, 3 into 4 is 12. So 90 plus 12 will give you 102. Now out of this 102, I have 30 boys who passed. If 30 boys passed, that means the girl who passed will be 72. So let us write down here pass and did not pass. So pass students and let's say failed students. If 30 boys passed, then 30 boys failed out of 60. Here also if I am looking at 72 girls passed out of 90, so the number of girls failed will be equal to 18. Now percentage of girls who did not pass. So 18 girls did not pass out of a total of 90 girls multiplied by 100. So 18 ones are, 18 fives are. So 1 by 5 into 100 will eventually give us 20%. So therefore 20% of girls did not pass the examination or failed the examination. Clear guys? So as I repeat, assume 100x, follow the question. The job is going to be easy in these kind of questions. Let's look at this question here. So I'm given that there are 450 balls which are either white or black. Okay, so we have 450 balls. Again divided into two categories. So we have white balls and we have black balls. Okay. There being as many metallic white balls as metallic black balls. So I have metallic white balls. Let's say MW is equal to MB. Okay. If 40% of white balls are metallic. So what are my metallic white balls? That is 40% of white balls. Let me assume white balls are W. Clear? And 50% of black balls are metallic. So let's write 50% of black balls is equal to B. And these two are equal. So if I cancel them, 0, 0 also gets cancelled, which means we have W by B is equal to 5 by 4. That means I need to divide 450 in this ratio. Clear? So 9 parts is equal to 450. So 1 part is equal to 50. So 5 parts will be equal to 250 and 4 parts will be equal to 200. If this is what we have, how many of them are metallic white balls? 40% of 250. Now what is 40% of 250? That is 100. So metallic are 100 here. That means non-metallic are 150. Similarly, out of 200, metallic are again going to be 100 because both metallics are same and non-metallic will be 100. Now what is the question asking us? Find the number of non-metallic balls in the box. So non-metallic balls are 150 plus 100. So 150 plus 100 will actually give us, there are 250 non-metallic balls in the box. Clear guys? So in this case, the total value was already given. We had to just determine the ratio. Now remember, whenever you have an equation without a constant, you should be able to get the ratio of those two variables, like 40W is equal to 50B. Now this is an equation without a constant. So I can always get the ratio of W and B and eventually get our required answer. Clear? So let's move to the next question here. Now in a group, 28% of the members are young while the rest are old. Okay, so let me assume total number of people are 100x. So the number of people who are young are 28x. And the number of people who are old will be remaining. That is going to be 72x. Okay. 65% of the members are literate. So 65% will be 65x. Now 25% of literates are young. Now 25% is 1 by 4. Now let's pause. If I take 1 by 4 of 65, it is not divisible by 4. So what would I do is I'll smartly change my total number of people as 100x into 4. So this part also becomes 28x into 4 and this part also becomes 72x into 4. Which means the number of literates people are 65 into 4. Now 25% of this will be 1 by 4 of this. That means the young people are 65x. And therefore the old literates people will be 65x into 3. Clear? So this is 360 is a 180 plus 15 will give you 195. And this is 65. So 195 plus 65 will give you 260 here. So 260x people are literates. So how many are illiterates? The number of people who are illiterates are 140x. Clear? right? So how many young people do I have? 420s is 80 plus 32. 80 plus 32 will give you 112x are young people. 470s are 280 plus 8. 288x will be old people. Now out of this 112, I have 65x are literate. That means illiterates are going to be 747x. And here we have 195 are literates. That means illiterates would be 93x. Yep. So the percentage of old people among the illiterates, that means there are 93x illiterates, old illiterates, okay, among 140x illiterate people multiplied by 100. So x gets cancelled. This is 25s are, this is 27s are, this is 7 1s are 7, and then we have a 23, 7 3s are 21, then you have a 20, again approximately this is 3s. So this will give us 5 3s are 15, 5 I carry 1, 65 plus 1 is 66.5 percentage. So approximate percentage would be 66 in this case, and therefore we get the answer. So smartly use this. If 25% of 65 is not a multiple of 4, that is 1 by 4 of 65 is not an integer. So what we did is smartly we multiplied by 4 further. So we're multiplying by 4 here. That means we have to multiply by 4 across and then do the calculation, and thus we will be able to get our answers very easily. So this question was a game of how to make the calculation easier. Right, now let's look at this question. So in a library contained a total of 11,500 books in two categories, fiction and non-fiction. Okay. So 2010. Let me assume fiction books were 100F, non-fiction books were 100N, and total books become 100 times of F plus N, and given to us is equal to 11500. So what do we get from here? We finally get the value of F plus N is equal to 115. Clear? Now in 2015, the total number of books, the total number of books becomes 12760. Right? Now, because there was a 10% increase in fiction category, 10% increase becomes 110, because 10% of 100 is 10 only. Now 12% increase in non-fictions category, so this becomes 112 plus n, 112n. So eventually what do we have? We have 110n plus 112n is equal to 12760. Now what we can do is we can subtract these two equations. When we subtract these two equations, 100n minus, 110f. 110f minus 100f will give me 10f. 112n minus 100n will give me 12n, which is equal to 1260. So if we eventually get 5f plus 6n is equal to 630. So we have 5f plus 6n is equal to 630. Now what am I looking at? We are looking at the number of fiction books. That means I need to cancel n from here. Let's multiply by 6 here and subtract them. So 6f minus 5f will give you f. 6 into 115 is 690. 690 minus 630 will give you 60. Now f is equal to 60. The question is asking you find the number of fiction books in 2015. So 2015 is 110f. So therefore our answer becomes 110 into 60, and thus the answer becomes 6600 will be the total number of fiction books in 2015. Clear, guys? So again, whenever you have a basic value, we can always assume 100f plus 100n and we get our answer. Mind you, this is a model on which profit and loss, you get a lot of questions in profit and loss from this model. We take 100x, 100y, we are talking about percentage of profit, and then we get our final answers from there. Right? So let's look at the next question here. The total male and female population in a city increased by 25% from 1970 to 1980. So let's look at 1970. So total number of male population, let's say, is 100m. Total number of female population is 100f. So this becomes 100 times of m plus f. Now in 1980, what happened? This increased by 25%. So 25% of 100 is 125. So 125 times of m plus f becomes the total population. Now why did this happen? Because the male population increased by 40%. So this becomes 140 m. And the female population increased by 20%. That becomes 120 f. So this plus this is equal to this. Now when we transpose these values, what do we get here, guys? We get 140 m plus 120 f is equal to 125 m plus 125 f. So when we transpose, we get 15 m is equal to 5 f, or eventually we get m by f is equal to 1 by 3. Or let us write this as x and 3x. Right, so let's rearrange our terms here. Right, or let me erase and write it here directly. So if this is 100 and 100, this is 140 and 120. Let's change everything here. So 100m, that becomes 100x are males. So let me write males here. Clear? And females become 100y, 100f, that becomes 300x. So total population eventually becomes 400x. Now males increase by 40%, so males become 140x. Females increase by 20%, so females become 360x. So total population becomes 500x. Now what is happening further? In 1990, the number of female population increased by 25%. Now 25% is 1 by 4. So 360 by 4 is 90. That means this becomes 450x. Clear, these calculations should be very handy with us. And I'm told that the female population is twice of male population. That means male population is half of this. That becomes 225x. That means my final population here becomes 675x. So find the percentage increase in the total population from 1970 to 1990. So there's an increase of 275x on a base value of 400x multiplied by 100. So x gets cancelled, 0 gets cancelled. So 275 would give me 4 6s are 24, and then I have a 35. So 4 8s are 32.75 percentage. And therefore the answer here becomes option A, which is going to be our final answer. Clear, guys? So again, whenever we are bifurcating, the easier part is to assume the values as 100x, 100y, follow the question, and then eventually you'll get the answers. Keep the numbers handy. 25% is 1 by 4, 20% is 1 by 5, 40% is 2 by 5. Now these numbers will make our job pretty easy to make the calculations easier in the examination. Right, now let's look at the next question here. Now Ravi invests 50% of his monthly savings in fixed deposits. Okay, so let me assume his monthly savings are 100x. So in fixed deposits, he invests 50x. So how much is the rest amount with us? The rest amount is again going to be 50x. Now, 30% of the rest is invested in savings. So what is 30% of 50? So 10% is 5. So 30% will be 15x. So 15x are in stocks, which means the remaining in savings bank account is equal to 35x. Now the total amount deposited by him in the bank account, that is savings plus fixed deposits, that is going to be 50x plus 35x, which is going to be 85x. Now 85x is equal to 59500. Now let's simplify this. So 5 into 17s are, this becomes 5 1s are 5, again 5 1s are 5, 11900. Now I think 17 7s is 119, yes, so 17 700s. So what do we get here? We get the value of x is equal to 700. Now let's see what is the question asking us. The question is asking us is monthly savings. Is monthly savings is going to be 100x, which is going to be 100 into 700, and therefore the final answer is going to be 70,000 will be his monthly savings as per the given conditions. Right? Now let's look at the next question, please. Out of the shirts produced in a factory, 15% are defective. Okay, so let's understand this. Total shirts we can assume as 100x, which means the defective shirts are 15x. That means the rest of them are going to be 85x. Right? Now 20% of the rest is sold in domestic market. Now, in domestic market, 20% of 85x is sold. That means the rest part is imported or exported, sorry. In the export market, if 20% of 85 is sold, that means remaining is going to be 80% of 85x is sold in the export market, because A percent plus B percent should be 100%. So what do we have here? We have 80% of 85x is equal to 8840. So 00 gets cancelled. This is 1105. Now again let's go with 5. 5 17s, 5 2s are 10, 221s, and again 17 1s are 17, 17 3s are 51. So therefore we get the value of x is equal to 130. Now what is the question asking us? Find the total number of shirts manufactured. The produce are going to be 100x, so 100 into 13, 130 will eventually give us 13,000 as the total number of shirts manufactured in the factory is what we are looking at. Clear, guys? So let's look at the next question, please. Now, in an examination, A scored 10% less than B. The score of B was 25% more than C, and the score of C was 20% less than that of D. Now, since A is depending on B, P is depending on C, and C is depending on D, let me start with the value of D as 100x. Now 20% of 100, 20% of 100 is 20, so C will be 20 less. 20 less will give me 80x. Now B is 25% more than C, so 80x plus 25% becomes 1 by 4 of 80x. Now 1 by 4 of 80x will give me 20x. So that means the value of B will be 80x plus 20x, which will again be 100x. And the value of A is 10% less than B. So the value of A is 10% less, which will eventually give us 90x as the value of A. Now what is given to us? I'm told that if A scored 72, that means if 90x is equal to 72. Or eventually what do we get? We get the value of x is equal to 72 by 90, which is equal to 8 by 10, or which is equal to 0.8. Then find the score of D, and the score of D is going to be 100 into 0.8. Now 100 into 0.8 is going to be 80 will be finally the score of D, and that becomes our final answer. Clear, guys? So again a very easy question. Whenever we are looking at percentage more, percentage less, this is how we can go ahead and simplify the values and get our required answers. Now let's look at this question. The income of Amla is 20% more than that of Bimla. So Amla will be 20% more. So what is the multiplying factor, guys? The multiplying factor is 100 plus x percentage by 100. Or we are looking at 1 plus or minus the fraction. Right? So 120 by 100. 120 by 100 will become 6 by 5. So A is 6 by 5 of B. And I'm told that A is 20% less. Now 20% less is 80%. So 80% will be 4 by 5. Now 4 by 5 of C. Now the easier part to do would be, since A is common in both the cases, what we can do is we can assume the value of A as a multiple of 6 and a multiple of 4. So what is the multiple of 6 and 4? Multiple of 6 and 4 will become 12. So let me assume A is equal to 12x. Now replace 12x here. So this becomes 6 1s are 6 2s are. So 5 2s are, the value of B becomes 10x. And if I replace here also as 12x, 4 1s are 4 3s are. So 5 3s are, the value of C here becomes 15x. Now if Kamala's income, that is K. If Kamala's income goes down by 4%, so multiplying factor becomes 96% of 15x. So this is 5 3s are, 5 20s are, 4 5s are, 4 24s are. Which means Kamala's income now becomes 72x by 5. And Bimla's income goes up by 10%. Now 10% of 10 is 1. That means Bimla's income becomes 11x. Let me write multiplied by 5 multiplied by 5. So 55x by 5 and 72x by 5. The percentage by which Kamla's income would exceed Bimla's income. So that's going to be 72x by 5 minus 55x by 5 divided by 55x by 5 multiplied by 100. So 5 gets cancelled here. Clear? So 72 minus 55 will give you Kamla's income would exceed Bimla, right? So that becomes 17x by 55x multiplied by 100. So x gets cancelled, 5 11s are 5 20s are, or eventually we have 340 divided by 11, which is going to be 11 3s are 33. So approximately 30.9 percentage. So 13.9, we go by options, then we get 31 percentage is the approximate value by which the income of Kamla is exceeding that of Bimla. Right? So let's look at the next question here. In a tournament, a team has played 40 matches so far. Okay. So a team has played 40 matches. It has won 30% of them. So 30% of them is 12. Clear? So let's say did not win or lose. Okay. Did not win will be 28 matches. If 60% of the remaining matches is what they win, so I do not know, so let me assume the remaining matches are 100x. That means if they win 60% of 100x, that means if they win 60x, then their win percentage will be 50%. So let's try to understand. So 40 plus 100x by 2, 50% of this will be the win percentage. So winning matches will be 12 plus 60x. So let's simplify this. So this becomes 20 plus 50x is equal to 12 plus 60x, or we get the value of 10x is equal to 8, or the value of x is equal to 0.8. So what do we have here now? So we have, if x is equal to 0.8, that means the remaining matches are going to be 80. Clear? Now suppose they win 90% of 80. What is 90% of 80? 90% of 80 is 72. So if they win 72 matches, then how many matches would have been won by them? That is 12 plus 72, which will be how much, guys? 84. So therefore our required answer is going to be 84. So if they win the remaining matches, they would have won 84 of the matches given to us. Clear? Now let's look at the next question. Now Meena scores 40% in an examination, and after review, even though her score increased by 50%, she fails by 35 marks. Okay, so this is a pass marks, fail marks question, standard question. Okay, now let's understand. Since 40% of total marks is given, let me assume total marks as 100x. So how much did she score? So she scored 40x. Now after the review, her marks increased by 50%. So 50% of 40 is 20. That means now her marks became 40x plus 20x. Okay. Now her marks increased by 20x, which means now her marks became 60x. And she fails by 35 marks. So marks scored by her plus 35 marks will be the pass marks of the examination. Okay. So standard model of pass marks, fail marks, we should not mess up with this. If her post review scored further increased by 20%, so 60x increasing by 20%, so 20% of 60, 20% of 60 is going to be 12. Clear? Which means if her post review has become 72x, then she would have got 7 marks more than the passing marks. That means 72x minus 7 will be the passing score of this person. So since both of them are the pass marks of this exam, so we write 60x plus 35 is equal to 72x minus 7. Or eventually what do we get? We get 42 is equal to 12x. Or this is 6 2s are 6 7s are, or the value of x is equal to 7 by 2, which will eventually be 3.5. Clear? So the value of x is equal to 3.5. Now what am I talking about? That means the total marks are 350. right? And what is the percentage score needed to pass the examination? So that becomes passing marks are 60 into 3.5. This is the passing marks, 60 into 3.5 plus 35. So 63 is a 180, 60.5 is 30, 180 plus 30 is 210, 210 plus 35 will give me 245. So eventually we need 245 upon 350 multiplied by 100. 0, 0 gets cancelled. 5 sevens are 5 49s are 7 ones are 7 sevens are, which means the total percentage of marks required to pass will be 70%, and that becomes option D should be your required answer. Clear? So 70% becomes our final answer. Now there's one more way in which we can calculate this, guys. If total marks are 350, we know this is 60%. 35 as a percentage of 350 is again going to be nothing but 10%. 60% plus 10%. We can also directly calculate that 70% of marks are required to pass in the examination. Clear, guys? Now let's look at this question. Now this question says in an examination, the maximum possible marks is n. So let me, and while the pass marks is 45% of n. So let me assume the value of n is equal to 100x. So we get the pass marks will be 45% of 100x, which will be 45x. Now a candidate needs to obtain 36 marks. A candidate obtains 36 marks, but he falls short by the pass marks by 68%. So what are the pass marks here? Pass marks are 45x, which will be he obtained 36 marks and he fell short by 68% of 45x. So whatever I scored and the gap becomes pass marks. So let me write this as 100 by 100 of 45x. So 100 minus 68. So this becomes 32 by 100 of 45x is equal to 36. So 4 8s are 4 9s are, 9 1s are 9 5s are, 5 1s are 5 20s are, 4 5s are 4 2s are, or eventually we get the value of x is equal to 5 by 2, or the value of n we get is equal to 250. 5 by 2 into 100. Clear? So since the value of n is equal to 250, which one of the following is correct? So option B becomes the answer, because only option B gives us the value of 250 in the question given to us. Clear, guys? So let's move to the next question here, please. Now we are told that in an election there were 4 candidates and 80% of registered voters cast their votes. Okay. So in an election there were 4 candidates. So let me assume that registered voters, okay, are equal to 100x. So how many actually voted? So number of people voted will be 80x. Now one of the candidates received 30% of 80x. Now 30% of 80x will be eventually 24x. So what is the rest amount? The rest amount is going to be 56x. This is by candidate A. Okay. Now while the other 3 candidates received the remaining casted votes in the proportion of 1:2:3. So this becomes 56 into 1 by 6. This becomes 56 into 2 by 6. And this becomes 56 into 3 by 6. So let's simplify. If A is the first guy, he got 24x. If B is the second guy, he got 56x by 6. C is the third guy, he got 56x by 3. And D is the fourth guy, he got 56x by 2. 56x by 2 is going to be 28x. Now this is going to be 3 ones are 3. Approximately 19x, approximately. And this is going to be 9 point something. And this is going to be 24x. Now what am I told here? I'm told that if the winner of the election received 2512 votes more than the second winner. So we have 28x minus 24x given to us as 2512 votes. So what do we have here, guys? We have 4x is equal to 2512, or the value of x is equal to 4 6 are 24. You have 11, 4 2s are 8, we have 32, 4 8s are 32. If the value of x is equal to 628, we want 100x, and the value of 100x will eventually be 62800 should be our final answer of this question. So not a very difficult question at all. We could have got this answer very easily by looking at the questions given to us. Clear, guys? So let's move to the next question here. Now, in May, John bought the same amount of rice and the same amount of wheat as he had bought in April, but spent 150 more due to the prices of rice and wheat increase by 20% and 12.5% respectively. So, amount spent and quantity. Okay. So, let's understand, if quantity is N and amount per kg is X. In the next month, the quantity is also N and the amount becomes 1.2x. So here the total amount spent becomes Nx. Here the total amount spent becomes 1.2 into Nx. This is, let's assume, for rice. Similarly, for wheat, we can also conclude that if the quantity is same, this becomes Ny. Now 12% increase, this would become 1.12 Ny. Will be the value for wheat. Clear? Right? Now, John spent 450 on rice in the first month. So, let's understand. April, May, rice and wheat. So, if he spent 450, if Nx is equal to 450, in May, he spent 1.2 into Nx. That means 1.2 into 450 will give you 540. So, I do not know about wheat. So, let me write it as Ny. And this becomes 1.12 Ny. So what is the total amount spent? Here the total amount spent becomes 450 plus Ny. And here the total amount spent becomes 540 plus 1.12 Ny. And the total amount spent in May is 150 more than in April. So therefore what do we have here? We have 450 plus Ny plus 150 is equal to 540 plus 1.12 Ny. So this eventually becomes 600 plus Ny is equal to 540 plus 112 by 100 Ny. Or when we simplify, we get 60 is equal to 12 by 100 of Ny. So 12 ones are 12 fives are, which means we finally get the value of Ny is equal to 500. This is what we have here now, right? Now, how much did he spend in wheat in the month of May? So if Ny is equal to 500, all we need is 112 by 100 of 500. So 0000 gets cancelled. 5 into 100 is 500. 5 into 12 is 60. So therefore, the total amount spent is equal to 560 in the month of May on wheat. Clear? So let's move to the last question of the session, guys. Now, in a village, the production of food grains is increased by 40%. So let me assume if it was 100x, this became 140x. Now, the per capita production, what is per capita production? Per capita production becomes total production divided by total population. Okay. So per capita increased by 27% during the period. So let me assume the population in the month of in the village. So let's say the initial population was P. So per capita production becomes 100x by P. So in this month it increased by 27%. That becomes 127 by 100 into 100x by P becomes the per capita consumption. So I know that this into this is equal to this. So let me assume the population is K. So we can get 140x into K is equal to 127x by P. So x and x gets cancelled. Clear? Sorry, we are looking at this divided by this. My bad. 1 second, guys. So 140x divided by K. This divided by this will give you this. Okay, so 140x divided by k is equal to 127x divided by p. So x and x gets cancelled, or the value of k is equal to 140p by 127. So initial population was p. Let me write it as 127 by 127, and final population became 140p by 127. Clear? So by what percentage did it increase? If I subtract both of them, it increased by 13p by 127 as compared to 127p by 127 multiplied by 100. So p gets cancelled, 127 gets cancelled, 13 by 127 will approximately give us 10 percentage, and therefore our final answer here becomes 10 percentage. Right guys, so that's it from this video on percentages guys. If you observe, there's no formula required, no high funda concepts required. Whenever the basic question is given, all we can do is we can assume the base value is 100x, follow the question, get the answers in the least possible time. I repeat once again, make calculations very handy. You should be able to calculate 20%, 30%, 40% easily, as well as do by heart the percentage and fraction equivalent table. That will make your job pretty easy in the examination. So all the best for the rest of the chapters. Thank you. Take care guys.